Hello, Kyle.
Hi, Camille. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Really excited to talk to you, though. I listened to this record like 3 or 4 times straight last night. It's a beautiful record.
No, thank you. Thank you for listening to it.
And it's interesting. I guess we'll start with the background part of it first. That seems to be the easiest entry point here, because the first thing is you recorded this in an artist co-op at a monastery?
A monastery, yeah.
Yeah,
Monastery, a chartreuse, we call it. It's a big monastery. It used to be a village, a religious village. Let's say a village and a farmer's village and religious village. It's called chartreuse.
What attracted you to it to do the recording there?
Well, I felt like I'm a Parisian. I felt like moving out from Paris. I've been recording several times in the studio in the south of France, and so I know that part of France, and I had the opportunity to be a resident in that place. I asked for I don't know if you call it that way in English. I asked for a residency, and they said yes. It's a place that's been welcoming artists for 40 years. It stopped being religious in the start of the 20th century, and then in the 70s it became a residential place for artists, for creations. So they, the director agreed, and so I moved to the south for 2 years, and I had my working place there, and so I could peacefully create my new album there. It's a place that's full of light and full of life and full of mystery.
We actually have I recently went to a place, I guess it was just like that. It was in Wisconsin, of all places around here, but it was the same sort of thing. They just let the artists live there and create and be around other artists. And it too is in a monastery. And I thought, what a cool environment to be able to do this. It's almost just like all the usual stress of whatever goes into making a record is lifted off your shoulders, and you're just allowed to give into it. It's incredible.
It's incredible, and we've got, I think for an American person, it must be quite amazing to go to Europe, because we've got many places like that.
Yeah.
And many places like that, they're so it's so expensive to take care of these places that some of them are just falling into parts. Some private some people are would buy them and spend their lives restoring them, and others still belong to the states, and others belong to Russians that do not, or to rich people that don't know anything about history, and just ruined them. But these places are, there are some jewels in every single village. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm always amazed by all these places, religious places that have such exquisite acoustics and architecture. And I feel like as an artist, I want to make music in them, to make them, live again, to create in those places. I feel very privileged.
I love the idea of that, and I know going into your records, there's, I guess there's always a want to try to do something amazing, to try to do something new, and to experiment. And I was kind of wondering, where did you want to go with this one? Because you've tried so many different things and had beautiful results from it. Did you go into this one saying that you needed to get to somewhere, or was there just a lot of experimenting that went on again?
I really wanted to do a work on pulse rather than rhythm. Pulse leads to movement and to melodies. When I create melodies, because very often I compose just with a melody. There's always a pulse induced, a subdued, I don't know, a pulse that inside the melody. So I wanted to really explore the link between the pulse and the melody, and I wanted to work with a proper drum. We call it the shaman drum. It's really like a heartbeat that kind of evolves, but it's like this pulse we all have inside of us, and that kind of evolves. And I wanted to explore through it even rhythms and uneven rhythms, all the symmetry. And pop music is a lot about binary, is based on most of the time binary rhythms. And I love when rhythms start to be uneven. I don't know how to say it in English. It's not binary. They you know, when a rhythm is in 7 is instead of 4, then it becomes, instead of being square, it becomes round. And I feel it becomes, the rhythm, the pulse becomes feminine. You know, I wanted to explore these uneven rhythms and circular rhythms. That's what I call them.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to explore the link between melody and pulse, and between singing and movement. Because I'm very much interested in traditional music, and in traditional music is always that always goes with movement. Different kinds of rhythms I like to dance to, and then that are not necessarily, you know, related to pop. But I wanted to make a pop record. But like, pop is almost like an alibi for me to create something unique, something that is my world. And I wanted also, to answer your question, to mix different periods, different space and times. I wanted the vocal to be both rhythmical and classical and primal, and same for the rhythms. So to evoke the period we're into, that is both to me about collapsing and about rebuilding something, about dreaming of a new world. So I really explored, it's the first time I do that vocally. I really explored more classical singing, so-called classical singing. There's more, you know, airy singing and reverberant singing. Yeah, like a classical choir, you know, like in the distance.
You know, I was thinking when you were talking about the pulse and everything, like that's what drew me to it, because, you know, I don't speak French, and with no disrespect to your lyrics, you know, I'm a rhythm and melody person, and I don't know, I guess listening in a language that I don't know what the words are, and I did look a lot of them up, and, you know, I'll get to that in a second too, but it does allow me to feel the music, and that's what I got right from the beginning, is that it felt different.
I like to get rid of stuff. Like, I didn't want any hi-hat. I didn't want drums, like a proper drum kit. I didn't want harmonies filling the whole thing. I want to get a feeling of bareness, you know, rawness and bareness. Mm-hmm. But when I say raw, it doesn't mean it's not refined. It's with a lot of work, like a jewelry work. But I like when you hear all ingredients, and that all ingredients are transparent, you know. And you can hear the structure of the melody and of the pulse. You can hear it, and at the same time, it kind of shines. I don't know.
I know you've also got quite the knack of playing with language too, and you know, I find that with songs. And does it translate to Fountain of Milk? The first single, the translation, is it in English? Is it?
It is.
Yeah,
a fountain of milk.
Yeah, and I see you playing with language. Have you always had the knack to kind of twist phrases around and play with it like that?
Yeah, I think I like to play, basically. Mm-hmm. I like to juggle. I like to play. So I play with everything. I improvise with everything. That's the way I feel happy. So I like to play with words, but not only to tease. It's not to be clever, you know. It's because, to me, language is an invitation to reinvent it. Always. I feel language has been invented. We just stick to grammar and vocabulary, and we say that's the way it is. No, that's not the way it is. You know, it's been made up at some point. So I feel very, you know, free with language. I like that there's a kind of a structure to it, so you can play, because you can't play if there's no structure. But then it's up to us to reinvent it every day. And the other thing that strikes me with language is that we always think it's written, and but it's to me, language was oral at first. So to me, singing is feeding the sound of the words. It's like a rebirth for words to be sung. To me, it's like, you know, that's where they come from, sounds.
It's so fun just to kind of, you know, dive into those lyrics and watch what you've done with them. I mean, you know, I like to do it too, but I don't think I come anywhere close to the level that you're able to do it on. I mean, it's quite the talent you have with that.
Well, yeah, everybody's got a talent. That's what I like to do.
There is the one English track on here with Seeds, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that single as well, like what the premise is there.
Well, Seeds is a song about seeds. I like the word seeds in English. We call it semence or semer. It's a little dull. Seeds is a nice name, and it's there's this S. So I used lots of S's in the song to recreate the idea of. I think it evokes the diversity and generosity of nature. To go that. Like when you throw the seeds, comment est-ce qu'on dit? When you plant seeds, the gesture you've got the old gesture when you throw them. I don't know, you can't see me, but it sounds like the sound of seeds thrown on the ground. Anyway, the song evokes both generosity of nature and its diversity. I mean, there's a tree in a village I go every year since I'm little. There's a fig tree, and every year the fig tree is so full of figs it could feed the whole village. And at the same time, some people try to control the seeds and saying you need that to feed the planet. And they industrialize seeds and they make it very weak and stupid. So the seeds need either pesticides or either to be a high become hybrid. Or you need GMOs so you can supposedly grow and great crops. It's crazy. If you work with nature and with life is very generous. And as a mother, I know. When you let it go, just life happens. I'm pretty sure we can all survive very well and be self-sufficient as long as we grow our food locally without anything else than care and intelligence. The song is about all that. All that.
And you almost simplify all of that within again the constraints of pop, which is again so cool to hear. I love the record. It's such a great record.
Yeah, I guess even if you do a protest song or a song that has a meaning, the song has to be pleasant in a way. It has to touch people, even if they don't get the meaning. At least a song to me should have several meanings. At least it should be open to any interpretation. Yeah. It should let people free to interpret it their own way. I don't like to write something that is narrow-minded, that has one meaning.
Well, like I said, I love this record, and I can't compliment you enough on how fun it is to listen to.
Well, thank you so much for listening to it. I like it too.
I hope so.
I like it too. It's full of surprises.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, Camille.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.